Hello, my name is David Vogt, and I want to welcome you to the second in a 9-part webcast series on implementing OMB's new uniform guidance for IHBG and ICDBG programs. In this webcast, we're going to cover navigating the uniform guidance, Subpart A, which is acronyms and definitions, and Subpart B, general provisions. This is a description of our 9-part series, and in addition to the webcasts, we also have a vast amount of information available as supplemental webcast resources. Let's take a look at how the uniform guidance is organized. Now, what is not shown on this graphic here is the table of contents. The table of contents is 6 pages long. So it's very easy to read down through that detailed index to find what you're looking for. But we have even probably a more useful tool for you with our index by topic. This is also 6 pages long. It's not in numerical order. It's in the alphabetical order by topic. So if you're looking for information about procurement, you look under P. That'll give you the numerical reference to the uniform guidance. This is going to be a great aid to you in navigating the uniform guidance. So let's go through the uniform guidance here. You'll see that there are 6 subparts. Each subpart has a range of numbering. Subpart A is 0 to 99, Subpart B is 100 to 113, and so on. So it's easy to understand what category it falls in simply by the numbering. And then we also have the appendixes. We have 12 appendixes. We'll look at that in a moment. So we have Subpart A, acronyms and definitions. We'll be going over that in this segment of the webcast. Subpart B, general provisions. We'll be going over that as well. Subpart C will be the next webcast. Subpart D will be in the 3 separate webcasts. Subpart E will be covered in 2 webcasts, and then audit requirements. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's in the appendix list. It's easy to miss the appendix because it's really not regulations. They're referenced in the regulations. They're brought in that way. It constitutes about 50 pages, so it's a substantial amount of guidance here. Some of these appendixes you probably never use because they simply don't apply to ONAP programs. However, some do apply, and let me just point out a couple that I think you'll be interested in. Appendix number 2, for example, contract provisions for non-federal entities, something that would be used by any recipient. And then also Appendix 7, indirect costs. State, local, and tribal governments are covered under this appendix for indirect costs. And then also Appendix 12, award term and conditions for recipient integrity and performance matters. And that's something you may not have heard about before, but we'll be talking about that in another webcast. Here's another graphic that provides some insight into the uniform guidance. This is organized by topic. You can see that far more than half of the uniform guidance has to do directly with finance accountability, management, audit. So to understand the uniform guidance, it's very important to recognize the acronyms that are used and also the definitions. And it's easy to access that information. We also need to understand where we can go, what section we need to go to get the information. So for example, where would you go to get the due dates for submitting a financial audit? Ideas about that?
Subpart F.
Subpart F, yes. Audit requirements. How about the definition of non-federal entity? Subpart A. And whether or not spending funds on conferences is allowable?
Cost principles.
Cost principles, yes. And what does SAM mean?
System for award management.
And so you would, what subpart would you go to get that information? Subpart A, that's right. And information about notices of funding opportunities. Well, that would be a pre-award process, so it would be under subpart C. So it's very intuitive if you understand the subparts, that you can quickly go to the appropriate subpart and research the information you're looking for. Again, 188 pages, no one is going to memorize that. So I think someone who wants to understand the uniform guidance, wants to understand what is required and what they need to do to meet the requirements, needs to understand how to access a document and quickly reference what the information they're looking for and apply it to the question at hand. All right, well, let's go on and actually dig into the uniform guidance now. We'll cover subparts A and B in this segment. Subpart A is acronyms and definitions, and subpart B are general provisions. Well, it's very important to understand acronyms and definitions. And you may think that you know what an acronym means and what a definition is, but you really need to verify it because the uniform guidance has made some changes. Also, they may vary in its use. So the acronym and definition used in the uniform guidance may be different than the acronym and definition used in the program that you're familiar with. So when we're analyzing and understanding the uniform guidance, we really need to be ready to reference back to the acronyms and definitions. Also, want to take this opportunity to point out that the uniform guidance is very precise in using the terms should and must. So should is a recommended practice, it's the best practice, but must means it is required. You must do it. So that is something to really focus on when you're reviewing the uniform guidance and looking to apply that. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up your uniform copy of your uniform guidance and check out a few of these acronyms. For example, first of all, looking at the index here, we see 200.0 is acronyms. All the acronyms are included at that site. And so the first acronym is FOIA. Can anybody tell me what that is?
FOIA. FOIA is Freedom of Information Act.
Thank you. And OMB.
It's the Office of Management and Budget.
Very good, thank you. And CFR.
How about again? Code of Federal Regulations.
All right, you're on it, thank you. And how about GAAP?
Generally accepted accounting principles.
Thank you. And SAM?
System for Award Management.
I thought it was somebody's name. Okay, good, thank you. And EPA?
Looks like the Environmental Protection Agency.
Okay, I think everybody knows that one. And how about CAS?
Cost Accounting Standards and Disclosure Statement.
Okay, I think, I thought that meant current assisted stock. Have you ever heard of current assisted stock? Sure, that's something we use in our Indian Housing Block Grant program. So in that program, CAS means current assisted stock. But when we're working with the uniform guidance, it has a different meaning. So that just points out the importance of referring back to subpart A to make sure we understand what the uniform guidance is telling us. Okay. Well, let's move on to definitions. Now, again, if we look at the index, we can see that 200.1 in the uniform guidance is really provides a description of what a definition is. And then there's a lengthy list of definitions. Each definition is listed in the index. And it actually covers more than 2 pages. So a lot of definitions here. And you can quickly look and see if there's a listed identification, and then there's a site there that you can go back and look at it. So let's give that a try. First one, Indian tribe. Anybody tell me what the definition is for Indian tribe?
Yeah, that is any Indian tribe, band, nation, or other organized group or community, including any Alaskan Native groups, which is recognized as eligible for services by the United States.
Thank you. That's exactly what the definition is in the uniform guidance. Now, if you're familiar with the definition of Indian tribe under the Indian Housing Block Grant, it's substantially different. The definition for Indian tribe in the Indian Housing Block Grant program is several times longer than that, and it goes into, among other things, a discussion of state-recognized tribes. So again, this points out that there can be different definitions for the same term depending on the context that you're working with. Okay, the next one, nonprofit. Yes?
That is an organization such as a trust, association, cooperative, that is not organized primarily for profit and is operated primarily for scientific, educational, service, charitable, or other similar purposes of the public interest. And it uses their net proceeds to maintain, improve, or expand the operations of that organization.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, and next, pass-through entity.
Well, you'll find that definition at 2 CFR section 200.74, and that is pass-through entity means a non-federal entity that provides a subaward to a subrecipient to carry out part of a federal program.
Thank you. And you will see that term used many times in the uniform guidance, pass-through entity. Many times you will see the term federal agency or pass-through entity. So that the same, essentially what that means then is the same standard is used for the federal agency who's providing the original award from the federal government, as well as the recipient who's passing on that award to a sub-recipient. That is an area of major change, and we'll be going through that in another webcast segment. And then state. Yes.
If you look at 200.90, state is defined as any state of the United States, including the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa, the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, and any agency or instrumentality thereof, exclusive of local governments.
Isn't that interesting? You know, I always thought we had 50 states. Who would have known without reading the uniform guidance? All right. And recipients.
Non-federal entity that uses a federal reward to carry out an approved activity.
Thank you. And subrecipient?
That's sort of your pass-through entity that passes through a recipient, but it's not the beneficiary.
Subrecipient is not a beneficiary. That's right. Okay, thank you. And supplies.
Supplies, you'll find that 2 CFR section 200.94, and this is a good case for plain English. Supplies means all tangible personal property other than those described in section 200.33, equipment. This is the plain English need. A computing device is a supply if the acquisition cost is less than the lesser of the capitalization level established by the, should I keep going? By the non-federal entity for financial statement purposes, or $5,000 regardless of the length of the useful life.
So who would have known? A computer is a supply. How about that?
Price. This is terrible.
Who
See,
would have known that? Who would have known that without reading the definition, right? Okay, so there's a lot of information here that really would not expect in the definitions. Okay, so that completes subpart A. Brief look at the acronyms and definitions. Let's move on to subpart B. And subpart B is the general provisions, and what this is really about is establishing uniform requirements for the federal awards. And this information applies to federal agencies as well. And it provides the basis for collecting and reporting on information. One of the things that I want to point out here is this applicability table. You can see there's 3 columns here. The first column identifies portions of the uniform guidance. The second column identifies the applicability. And the third column identifies where the uniform guidance is not applicable. Now, to basically simplify this, if you're in a grant, the uniform guidance applies. But you can see that if you're not in a grant, if you're in working with a loan program or some other form of federal program, then it may not apply. It would fall under the third column. So if you're not sure, does uniform guidance apply or not, this is a quick reference you can look at on this chart on 200.101. Okay, let's take some time and look at this hierarchy. This is critical to understand to properly apply the uniform guidance. So we can see at the top of this hierarchy are the statutes. The statutes always rule over everything else. So we're talking about NAHASDA, for example. NAHASDA would be the ultimate authority on using NAHASDA grants, followed by the regulations, Part 1000 for IHBG and 1003 for ICDBG. So, okay, where does the uniform guidance fall then? Well, that is at the bottom. So if you do not have program-specific requirements under the statute or under the regulations, then we follow the guidance in the uniform guidance. So I want to make sure that everybody understands and is not confused about conflicts they may see between what the statute says, what the program regulations say, and what the uniform guidance says. The program guidance comes first. If it's not addressed, then we're going to be working with the uniform guidance. Okay. Now, there may be some exceptions to this. Again, we're looking at the general provisions under 102. It's possible that the agency could have special requirements as specified by regulations, other program regulations, OMB. There is, however, a strong interest in maintaining consistent standards for audit purposes. And OMB is also authorizing uniform guidance to consider innovative program designs. If there's an agency that wants to experiment with different delivery programs, they can work with OMB to test that. And conflict of interest. This is, conflict of interest provisions are very strong. And what the uniform guidance says is the agency must establish conflict of interest policies. ONAP has very strong conflict of interest policies. And the requirement here is that where there is a potential or an apparent conflict of interest, that is disclosed in writing to the agency. And we have a new requirement for mandatory disclosures. So if there are violations of federal criminal law having to do with fraud, bribery, or gratuity violations, it must be reported to the funding agency in a timely basis and in writing. And failure to do so would result in penalties. Now, here you can see that the uniform guidance citation is crossed out. That is because it does not apply, or a better way of saying is, it is overruled by a program-specific requirement under 1026A1. So this slide is communicating that you would follow the program-specific requirement and not the uniform guidance. Also, under mandatory disclosures, and this is found in Appendix 12, is that for when an agency is making a grant for more than $500,000, that they must include Appendix 12, award term and conditions for recipient integrity and performance matters in the grant agreement. And secondly, if the award exceeds $10 million, then the agency is required to provide current information, actually going back 5 years, on the performance of that grantee. And that information is available to the public. And that concludes a brief overview of the general provisions and subpart A and B of the uniform guidance. Thank you for joining us.